All right, here we are. The Teachers Talking podcast has returned after a brief delay, not as long as previous delay. So, just a little blip on the radar, a little busy schedule, and
Figuring out some technical difficulties.
yep, some issues with the computer that I thought were fixed, and then
Mm,
all of a sudden just stopped working again. Like they were working, and I did all these downloads, and they're working, and I showed the tech person at school, and they were working, and then I tried to do something.
hmm
Um, yesterday I tried to do Zoom or something like that on my computer,
Yep.
and it wasn't working. So
Well, we have a big shout out to our sponsor today, Wiley Food Competition,
yep,
for
yep.
sponsoring our technology throughout this podcast. So,
Um, I got a cold open question. Not
okay.
really, not as controversial as the previous ones, but
Okay.
I had a thought.
hmm
It, I mean, Purdue's the probably one of the betting favorites to win the championship. I would assume.
hmm
Um, and statistics love them. Obviously, there's some concern about them because of losing to the 16 and previous
Sure.
experiences and stuff. But then I was like, this feels a lot like Virginia, right?
hmm
Lose to the 16, then you come back the next year and you win it.
Yep. Are you going to ask me what
What
I
do you
think
think?
of it?
Are they would if 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 you had to pick today, is Purdue the favorite to win the national championship?
I'm going to say no, they're not. I'm going to say the favorite to win the championship right now is the team metaphorically down the road from us, UConn Huskies. They are the real deal this year still, even with all the departures from last year. They're 20 and
Yeah,
2. They're 12 and 0 in their last 12. They
I hate Dan Hurley.
I think you hate Dan Hurley.
I hate Dan Hurley.
I love Dan Hurley, and I think that they could beat Purdue right now if they matched up against them. So I don't know. I mean,
How
Purdue,
tall is Klingon?
I want to say 7-2 or 7-3, so he can match up with Edie. But
Yeah,
then they have what's his name off the bench, Samson Johnson, I think, who's 6'11" himself. So Purdue had a good win yesterday, but it's Indiana too. We expected
I
that
know.
one to happen.
Yeah,
So I'd like to see I'd like to see some more. Purdue will run the table again. It it's if they match up against a smaller team in the tournament, it could possibly be a repeat of last year and the year
yeah.
before.
Well, in
Um,
Bart Torvik, Ken Palm, and the net ratings
mhm.
all have Houston statistically as number one team in the country.
Yeah, yeah. Purdue. Actually, this is interesting. Right now in Lunardi's bracket, Purdue and Duke could potentially meet up in the Sweet 16 in Brooklyn, New York. Not that
we would
far.
need
You could go.
we would need Sean Stewart in that game
You would,
because
but you guys would have to beat Florida Atlantic before, which is easy.
no problem, no problem. You remember? Let's okay. So no, I'm gonna take a brief Duke detour later. We need to celebrate the season saving win that was Texas A&M's victory over Tennessee yesterday.
It first of all, it was don't do us like that. It was not season saving. All right, we have been a tournament team all year. That just boosted our resume, but that was a huge win. I was so happy that we were up by 20 points the majority of the game. Wade Taylor showed up, and Tyrese Radford showed up. So I was very happy about that.
Wait, you come in real quick and then you go see Mama, okay? Yeah,
Special guest,
okay.
future Duke fan in the making here.
Want to go see Mama? Yeah. Go, go get Mama. She's out there. Are you gonna go? No one can see you though.
This is what happens when you start listening to the Teachers Talking Hoops podcast. You become addicted and don't want to leave.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if I'm gonna stop it.
Um,
Oh, Mama, there you go. There she is. Um, but I would say if you didn't have this Tennessee win
yeah.
and you go on a little skid, right? Like this gives you the opportunity to go on a 1 or 2 game skid.
Here's the thing, right? Going into the weekend, we were a 10 seed. We'd be matched up against Texas, and then if we won, we'd have to play North Carolina. I
Oh, I'll
think
get to
this
North Carolina later.
this moves us up to a 9 seed. That's a huge win. I expected that because we beat Kentucky back in January. Now we play Vanderbilt on Tuesday. We can
Well, how good
roll
is
in there.
Kentucky? Because we'll
What?
get to that later too.
That's been bad for them. But huge win. Anderson Garcia, amazing week. 16 and 17 rebounds in 2 games. Wade Taylor and Radford showed up. Very happy with the product. If only we could play consistently like that.
Mm-hmm.
But we moved to a top 5 team in the SEC, so not
I'll tell you,
complaining.
I bet against them yesterday.
Yeah, that's
Because
what you get. That
I
is
got
what
a,
you
a,
get.
a I got a $2 free bet, and so I tried to make as much money I could off of the $2 free bet. So I just bet a bunch of games, and that was one of them. And I decided
I
that one.
Yeah, that's what you get. I wore my A&M shirt yesterday, so it's the Aggies.
And
We're
man, I
coming.
mean, and that boosted them up pretty.
We could beat Duke right now. Right now.
Okay, well, I I don't debate that because
Because we are physical.
you remember um you remember last year over the summer, something like that, and the news was that Filipowski got kicked out of practice.
No, I don't remember that.
So like going into his freshman year, there was this rumor that like he got kicked out of practice. He was playing like bad, and
Hmm.
people were like, "Oh man, like he's just not gonna be good." And then he came on in the season, was playing so well.
Yeah.
This has been like Filipowski getting kicked out of practice. Filipowski, like he not even with how bad he's playing, his offense is he's in an offensive rut right now,
Yep.
but he looks so grumpy all the time. And like I don't know if he is like down on himself because he's not playing that good or like
Hmm.
but his attitude is just like apparent on the screen
Hmm.
and that's I think what was hurting the team and I think it's like hurting his confidence and like I'm a big Tyrese Proctor guy and I think he needs to be more aggressive. I think that's kind of what hurt them against UNC. But
Hmm.
the team can go without Flip, but they can't go deep without Flip.
So the last 4 games, the one who I've been most impressed with on Duke is Jared McCain.
Love me some Jared McCain.
He's had a double double in 3 out of 4 games. He
He
played,
crashes the board. He like works
yeah.
to get the
I
rebounds.
mean, sorry, 2 out of 4 games. He was 1 point short of a double double against Virginia Tech, but he is starting to play some heavy minutes for them, and I
Yeah.
think that him and Proctor kind of taking the load off Filipowski. But I mean, he had 16 points yesterday, but the 3 point shooting has been down.
His
Field
free
goal
throws have been
percentage,
awful.
yeah, free throw percentage has been down. I wonder if it's because he's playing out of position. But again, I mean, this is not a dig, but I mean, I don't know if he's struggling against some centers in the ACC.
Yeah.
You match up with the physical team in March Madness, which
Yeah.
is interesting. Right now, they'd match up against Cornell, and you got to watch out for those Ivies.
Yeah.
So that would be
I think
interesting.
they've got to play faster. They're too
Yes,
inconsistent with their speed. They'll push
yes,
it sometimes and then they won't push it. And they need to be a
yeah.
team that just goes.
If they pushed it down the floor the first 5 6 minutes of the game, they could. Some teams they could end the game right there.
Yeah.
Like they could. it's kind of that RJ Barrett full court pass to
Yeah,
Zion lob type thing. But Filipowski's a different player. His shooting has got to improve if Duke wants to be a second weekend team. But again, he's a good enough player and he's been there before that you have to believe that he's going to come out of that rut. And
yeah.
he had a good game against North Carolina to backtrack a little. He had 22 and 5 against Armando Baycott, but he struggled defensively, definitely.
I still like it. So the UNC one, right? You never want to lose that.
Yeah.
But and Duke was never really in the game.
Yeah. It was one of those games where they kept it at 8 or 10 but never
Yeah,
really cut into it more.
yeah. But but like you said, it's hard to win on the road. It's hard to
Hmm.
win in rival when your rival's playing well. I
Yeah.
still think North Carolina is one of the best teams in the country.
I
Um,
think so. Yeah, definitely.
I think they lack a little bit of depth, but they don't really seem to get in a ton of foul trouble. So I don't
Yeah.
think it's a huge deal.
Hmm.
Baycott is starting to play better. RJ is playing well. Harrison Ingram had a huge game against Duke,
Yeah.
which that's what kind of killed us.
Hmm.
Um, I think the big knock on them right now, from what I've been hearing and seeing, is Cormac Ryan's not really hitting down threes at a consistent enough clip.
Hmm.
If he becomes a bit more of a threat and a bit more
Yeah.
of a dagger hitter, that
Yep.
sort of opens up the floor for Davis to cut in, Baycott to stay open, and um, but I think they just play fast enough, and they play fast enough, but they don't rely on threes. They can hit them, but they're not a
Yeah.
team that, like, if they go cold,
Hmm.
it they're gonna shoot themselves out of winning the game.
Yeah. Well, I was looking up Harrison Ingram stats before the Geico ad came on, and I couldn't figure out where it was and couldn't shut it off. But he has been, I mean, the last couple of weeks, he's been nothing short of fantastic for them. I think he's the reason why they won the Duke game, and then he's
Yep.
been putting up pretty consistently close to a double double.
Yeah.
So it's RJ Davis, him, and Armando Baycott that if they can play well into March and carry this team, I think we can see. Again, you never know who you're going to match up with, but at the least an Elite Eight team. I
Yeah.
definitely think so. I definitely think they're legit, and I wanted to go Duke, but again, it's tough playing in North Carolina, and that team is so old and so experienced that they're going to have a leg up on virtually everybody they play.
Yeah. I mean, Duke had some injury stuff. I think um, I I would still pick Duke probably at Cameron.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that it wouldn't surprise me if North Carolina won, but
Hmm.
I would lean more towards a Duke, like, 5 point victory or so at home.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I mean, theoretically, what UNC's 19 and 5 right now. They have Cuse, Virginia Tech, Virginia, Miami, NC State, Notre Dame.
And Virginia's starting to come on.
If North Carolina wins, they could be 25 and 5 by the time they come into Cameron. A legit case for the top overall seed in the tournament.
Yeah,
That'd be a big game. I mean, it's a big game anyway, but who knows? They could be the number 2 or number 1 team if some things play out going into
yeah,
Cameron. So that could be a big last game for you guys.
um, yeah. I think they're solid. I think Duke's in a good spot if they can kind of play consistent.
Hmm.
Duke's got Wake Forest on Monday. Um,
Yeah, I think Duke will be a good 4 seed. That's what I think. I think a good 4 seed.
yeah, I mean, I think they can play their right. They can play themselves into a 2 seed.
Sure.
They'd have to, you'd have to beat UNC,
Hmm.
and you probably,
Have some things happen. Yeah.
yeah, you got to beat Virginia, you got to beat UNC, and then you probably have to beat in the ACC tournament, at least
Mm-hmm.
Clemson. Certainly if you could
Yep.
beat UNC again.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. You're not going to like that I say this, but looking at Lunardi's bracket, I would take some 7 or 10 seeds over Duke if Duke was a 2 seed. I would definitely do that.
But I think that's a lot of like you look at some of these teams and
Mm-hmm.
they don't have a lot of Texas Tech is 23rd and they're 17-6, so 6 losses isn't a ton. New
Yeah.
Mexico just lost, and so they're 19-5.
Mm-hmm.
BYU 17-6, Creighton 17-7.
Yeah.
Um, so these teams have some losses to them,
Yeah.
but like they're losing to unranked teams all the time. It feels like
Yeah.
Florida smacked up Auburn, Tennessee got smacked up, Wisconsin is just like a massive, massive free fall right now.
I know that. Yeah, that's bad. I know New Mexico lost to UNLV, so that was a bad loss for them. They may I don't know what was New Mexico before the weekend.
They are 25th, so they'll
Yeah, and New
they'll drop
Mexico. So
out.
New Mexico was a 9 seed in Lunardi's bracket. I could see them dropping to the bubble actually with that loss.
Yeah,
Um, I don't. Okay, so I'm going to bring us to the topic of the Mountain West because every year we're all hyping up the Mountain West,
yep,
and then March Madness happens and they stink. Is this the
yeah,
year that we're going to see a Mountain West team win a tournament game, or
yeah. I mean, I
are
would
we
say
going
there's
to do the same thing?
there's always like, let me see.
Because you look at the standings,
Yeah,
right? There's a couple of teams that you can make the legit case that they are a tournament team. And I think this might be the deepest Mountain West league I've seen in a while. You have Utah
yeah,
State, New Mexico, Colorado State, San Diego State, Boise State, and Nevada.
yeah.
All 16 plus wins. How many Mountain West teams does Lunardi have? Five Mountain West teams. So I think it's those five. Or no, there's one out. If there's one out, I would say Boise State is out. Or maybe Nevada. I don't know. Whatever. But if say we see 6 Mountain West teams, do we think any of them would win a tournament game?
Colorado State. Um, maybe Colorado State and Utah State.
Hmm.
Like you're like my philosophy always is
Uh huh.
there's a reason why this guy didn't go to Duke or North Carolina, right?
Hmm.
And like you can get better and you can fall into the right environment. But like in general, if you were a like a top 50 player,
Hmm.
you didn't go to Utah State.
Yeah.
And so it's I'm always a little hesitant to go with some of these mid majors just
Hmm.
because you like it doesn't always work out, but like if you're stuck and you're like, which one do I pick? You pick
Yeah.
talent,
Hmm.
right? And you hope that talent can, well, I don't know. I pick talent all the time with Kentucky, and I don't know what the heck John Calipari's doing,
Yeah, we'll get to them next.
but yeah, I usually like to just say, okay, I'll go talent and I'll just kind of ride with that and see how it goes.
Yeah.
Um, Colorado State has, I forget his name, but they have a legitimate guy.
Hmm.
Um, and I think Utah State has played well enough.
Are you talking about the Isaiah Stevens, the kid
Yes.
from?
Yeah.
Yep.
Um, where is
The only Mountain West team I have actually seen this year is Nevada. And I was impressed by Nevada. I think Nevada could get into the tournament. It seems every year that we're putting in all these Mountain West teams and then they're overrated and they they're so close, but then they end up losing.
Yeah. What
So
about like I mean this team's gonna get in with an automatic qualifier probably, but playing off of a similar thing, Indiana State.
yeah, they. I think they're legit. I, you know, again, mid majors. Not
Yeah.
all Mountain West teams blew it last year. San Diego State, heck of a run to the Final Four. You know, we're not going to see that from Indiana State or anything, but I, they have that kid. I forget what his name is. You know, the guy with Robbie. I think it's Robbie Avila, the kid with the goggles.
Yep, yep.
He can ball. He can play. I could see them depending on who they match up with getting an upset too, first round.
The net ratings have San Diego State as the first Mountain West team,
Mm-hmm.
one spot ahead of Indiana State,
Okay.
and then New Mexico's right behind them. So Colorado State 26, Utah State
Yep.
27.
27.
So four Mountain West teams in the top 27, all
Yes.
ahead of
And then
Virginia.
yep. And then your next Mountain West team is Nevada at 46, Boise State at 48.
Yes, that's six.
And
That's your six right there, right? Six in the top
yeah,
50,
your six right
in the
there.
top
Yep.
48.
Absolutely.
Um, I think
And they could all
what
get
hurts
in.
the mid major teams that it's always the debate come seeding time
Yep.
is now there's beating each other,
Yeah.
and then you have to ask yourself how good do I think they are, and if you're not buying into the Mountain West hype, then when
Hmm.
Boise State beats Nevada, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't really care.
So here's what I'm gonna say because Nevada was in that tournament in Hawaii. Um, so Nevada they have a TCU win, which looks really good now.
Yeah.
They have a Colorado State win, a Utah State win, and a San Diego State win. So they have three. Oh, what's TCU? TCU is in the net. They're 30. They're 41, but TCU is a top 25 team. So they have three or four top 25 wins. You got to think against the quality of opponent that you got to put them in.
Yeah.
And the same with what's it? New Mexico, right? They have if I can find it, let's see. Utah Valley, New Mexico. That was a Mountain West tournament. So they were ranked to start the year. Really? I was surprised. But they have a Nevada win. They have a Utah State win. That's it. But
I mean, San Diego State has what's going to help the league, especially if things turn around. San Diego State has the Gonzaga win.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely. And I mean, again, after the Kentucky win, that's probably worth a little bit more.
yeah,
But they're another team, Gonzaga, that's been floating around the bubble for the last couple of weeks and
that's a
probably
team.
will.
I, I, if you do blind resume, I mean, I'd have to look at the resume, but off of
They're
just like
yeah,
off of the top of my head,
they're
if I did
not a
blind
no,
resume, I'm not putting Gonzaga in the tournament. I
no.
think because it says Gonzaga, if they if they go, I don't know how they probably have 7 games left or something like that.
Yeah,
If they go 5-2 in their last 7,
yeah, no,
or even 4-3, I think they maybe get in because of the name Gonzaga. But I just don't like they're not good this year. I don't think.
no. They didn't beat Purdue. They lost to Washington. They lost to UConn. They lost to San Diego State. All their wins that they had a chance to build the resume, they didn't win.
Yeah, and
Unless they
then
win, unless they win the conference tournament, they're not a tournament team.
I think they
They've been
lost
floating around
twice
the
to St.
bubble.
Mary's.
Yeah, I mean they're going to be on the bubble the rest of the year, and I would not be happy if they were a last four team in because that's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
I can't believe they went into Rupp Arena and beat Kentucky though.
I can't either. Or should we transition to a struggling? We're going to say struggling now. Kentucky team,
Yeah, like
not good.
John
Not
Calipari
good.
sucks.
Not good. That is, they have lost 3 out of their last 4. The Vanderbilt win, we can't really
Yeah,
count
that,
that
that
because
is, I was gonna
Vanderbilt's
say that doesn't
first.
even count.
So they've lost 3 out of their last 3.
And they only beat Arkansas by 6. And
Yeah.
unfortunately for Duke's resume, Arkansas sucks.
So Kentucky's lost 4 out of their last 6.
Didn't you guys lose to Arkansas too?
Yeah, but
We're
that
pro-
was at the
we're
buzzer.
probably like the two teams in the country that lost to
Yeah.
Arkansas. It's like Arkansas's 2 wins this season.
Yeah.
They
No.
suck.
So Florida lost. Florida's good. Florida is good. Tennessee is good. But 103 points to Tennessee?
Yeah,
I mean, and
yeah.
then 89 to Gonzaga. And
They
then
they
it's not like,
don't play defense. Like their hope is
yeah,
that they're just gonna like outscore you, which they can do. But right, that was kind of Alabama's
yeah.
thing this past couple years.
And it's not like it gets any easier for them either.
Yeah, and they've got
They've got
Kentucky has so they get a Miami win, which doesn't look quite as good anymore, and they've got
no,
that UNC Wilmington loss, which is going to hang over their head.
but they've got the North Carolina win.
Yeah,
They've got a Florida win. They've got a Mississippi State win. And they have the name Kentucky.
yeah. I mean
So,
they'll be in the tournament,
yes,
and you know maybe as I mean
six,
if they free
six seed.
fall, yeah, like if they free fall a little bit more,
Yeah,
they could be more in that 8 range.
yep. But
Um,
they've plenty of opportunity left. They have Ole Miss, Auburn, Alabama, Mississippi State, and Tennessee. They cannot lose to LSU, Arkansas, or Vanderbilt.
yeah,
So they have some leeway, but they got to get it together fast because we are a month and 6 days from Selection Sunday.
yeah. If that Ole Miss game, I believe it's actually yeah. If the Ole Miss game was at Ole Miss, I'd
Yeah.
think I'd be picking Ole Miss.
They have to win on the road and they have to take care of, they've got to steal at least one on the road and they've got to take care of business at home. Because you win your what 4 games at home, that's 20-7, and then you go 1-3 on the road, 21-10. That'll be good enough to get you in. You win 2 games in the SEC tournament, you're 23-10, you're in. You know, that's that for Kentucky, but they got to fix it fast.
Trying to figure out. I'm trying to. How do I get over here?
I've got a team I want to highlight
Okay.
because nobody saw this coming. Winners of 7 straight, South Carolina.
Yeah, so that's what I was trying to get her to was the SEC standings.
They're
Um,
first,
yeah,
21
you
and
got South
3.
Carolina, Alabama tied for
Yeah,
first. South Carolina with a
yeah.
much better record. You know, we have to go back and look at who they played, but 21-3 versus 17-7.
hmm
Um, yeah, I mean
I
that
mean,
top of that division right now is South Carolina, Alabama, Auburn. Right? No
yeah,
Tennessee, no Kentucky, no A&M, no Florida.
I mean, South Carolina, they got a Virginia Tech win, um, Mississippi State win, Kentucky win, Tennessee win, Ole Miss win. They're just taking care of business.
Yeah,
21-3, and Michi Johnson has been nothing short of spectacular. And I have been thoroughly impressed. I think Lamont Paris is coach of the year in
yeah,
Division One. I mean, this is a team that was picked 15th in the preseason poll,
yeah.
and you're 21-3 on February 11th. You've got to give him coach of the year. I mean, they could end up with single digit losses. You know,
You
like
know what
this is a
they
team that's for real.
I'm trying to see who they lost to. You know, that Clemson,
Clemson,
what helped Clemson. That's when Clemson
yep.
was kind of playing real well. Um,
Alabama, they got smoked by.
yeah. and then they've got that Georgia loss,
Georgia.
like that. And every team gets one bad loss.
Yeah,
That's fine.
sure. Yep.
But if they don't have that Georgia loss, if
Hmm.
they win that game and they're 22-2 with
Mm,
no bad losses,
yeah. And I mean, I feel like Georgia's considered a quad two loss because it's that one was that was at Georgia, right?
I
So
believe
that might
so.
be quad two loss.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, because Georgia's what did the standings go again?
I think Georgia's
You're
13 and 9,
14 and 10, 4 and
14 and 10,
7.
yeah.
I mean, if you're 4 and 7 in the SEC, I don't know. Like you're not the worst team ever.
No, no, absolutely not. No. Um, let's transition. Let's hop over to the Big Ten and talk about those Badgers who
Yeah,
are mightily struggling after dropping 5 spots in the poll. How far do you think they'll drop this week?
they shouldn't be in the poll.
Yeah, that's
They're not.
two
They're not a
really
top
bad
25
losses.
team.
Yeah, that's two really bad losses. Michigan and Rutgers.
Yeah, and they got destroyed by Rutgers. And I don't.
Yeah,
Was the Michigan game that close?
72-68 they lost by. That
Okay.
was bad.
Yeah, Michigan's terrible.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah, they can't be ranked. I mean, but that's a far fall, right? Right there, 11th right now.
14 spot drop. Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
lot.
that's far. They're gonna be like 23rd.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I
They're
want to
18th right
say
now in Ken Palm,
yeah.
and they were like 20. They're 21st in the net.
Mm. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to make of it because they have the talent to go to be a second, possibly third weekend team, but if you can't put it together against Michigan and
Yeah,
Rutgers,
yeah,
it's
and
like what do
especially
you
like you can't lose to Michigan
no.
and
Especially at this time of year too.
go Rutgers
Yeah.
and allow yourself to get destroyed.
It would be different if those were your first two conference losses and then you went on to beat Purdue, Illinois, Michigan State, and Nebraska or something like that.
Yeah,
But this is just bad. And we've seen that a lot. The Big Ten was Ohio State. They had lost
yeah,
5 straight before they won yesterday. This was a tournament team, and now they're on the bubble.
yeah.
So, what's going on with the Big Ten? They're just not as superior, I guess, as the ACC or the SEC.
No, it's definitely a down. Right when you take out Purdue, I,
Mm,
I think I think you're trending downward. Because Michigan State's just they're doing Michigan State stuff, right? They're
yeah.
hanging around close enough to maybe get like a 7 seed and
Hmm.
then go to the Elite Eight.
What the surprising one to me has been Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
They have been pleasantly surprising. 17-8. They're on the bubble, but they've got a ton of opportunity left. I mean, you've got 3 gimme games: Penn State, Indiana, and Minnesota that you gotta get.
Yeah,
And then you've like 5 out of their last 6 games are they should win. Penn State, Indiana, Minnesota, Rutgers, Michigan. They could be 22-9.
if that game is at Indiana, I think Indiana's due for one at some point.
Indiana
Um,
sucks too.
Indiana like I I was listening to a podcast the other day
Hmm.
and they were doing predictions on games and they were talking about Indiana Purdue and they said the the line was like 19 at that point. And I
Hmm.
don't know if it changed at all, but if you're Indiana,
Yeah.
not even if you're Indiana, if you are a Power 5 team,
Hmm.
you should never be a 19-point underdog, right? Like unless you are like
Yeah.
Louisville playing maybe like at like the Louisville of last year playing at the North Carolina of this year,
Yeah.
maybe you're like 15, 17 point
Yeah.
because it goes back to that talent thing again. It like there's no way that Indiana as a program doesn't get good basketball players.
No.
So
Yeah.
those guys are good
Hmm.
enough that they shouldn't lose to someone by 20 points.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. I mean, I think we kind of saw this with Indiana this year. Just the talent isn't there. Um, but yeah,
I'm glad Duke didn't ended up losing McKenzie there because I also think he was just going to be right. What was he going to do? He's going to be Mark Mitchell,
yeah,
or he was going to be or less playing time for like Jared McCain.
yeah. If he doesn't get the ball, he pouts a little. So
Yeah,
it's
and we already have a guy that pouts. So
yeah, yeah. You already got one, so you don't need another one.
um, still in the Big Ten.
Uh-huh.
Do you think? Um, I mean, I assume nothing's going to happen. You think the committee at least discusses the Terrence Shannon situation? Kind of figure out like is this a guy that like I haven't paid much attention to like the aftermath of what's happening, but like is this a
Yep.
guy that like should we factor in that they lost a game or two when he wasn't there, or is he going to like get called to court in the middle of like the NCAA tournament, or like
So are they? I think they lost to Maryland when he was suspended, right?
yeah.
I want to say it was around that time period. I mean, they lost to Purdue. I don't know if he was suspended or not, but I think they were going to lose anyway. They beat Michigan State. Like they took care of business. He might have been back for the Illinois Northwestern game, but again, I don't know. Whatever. I think they're good enough that you don't need to take that. I mean, they're 17-6. They've got a ton of wins. They have a FAU win that still looks good. I'm not entirely sure how much you consider that, considering he wasn't out for I don't know. How long was he out for? I don't want to say it was an extended period of time, but
Really
it
a
could have
couple of
been.
days, I think. Oh,
Yeah, so
February
it's not like he was.
23rd, he has a hearing.
Okay. So, yeah, I guess we'll figure it out then.
It's gonna
I
be a
mean,
like definitely innocent until proven guilty, but
yeah,
it's I get why people suspend players because
yeah,
if this at the end of the day ends up coming out like with 100% proof evidence that he did
hmm,
all this stuff and they
yeah,
let him play these games, it's just
yeah,
such
oh,
a
yeah,
bad look.
yeah, totally. It's a really bad luck for the NCAA. I guess I guess my answer to this is we just have to wait and see. I guess we'll have to revisit this after February 23rd
Yeah.
because if he ends up getting suspended and they end up losing a couple games, I think then that's the time to talk about whether we consider that the committee will take into account because the committee says they do, but again, we don't know
Hmm.
if they do or not because the committee didn't consider us 2 years ago when we went 21-11, 21-12, and missed the tournament. But
I'm looking at Ken Palm. What do you
mhm,
think about using strength of schedule? So Gonzaga is 19th right now in Ken Palm.
mhm, yep,
St. Mary's is 23rd, and I believe
mhm,
St. Mary's beat them twice.
yeah,
But I assume Gonzaga is up there ahead of them. I assume that this is after yesterday, so the Kentucky game helps, and
mhm,
then just strength of schedule. They
yeah,
lost against good teams, but
mhm,
at the end of the day, you lost, right?
yeah. I so here's what I think. I think taking into account strength of schedule is a good thing, because you want your best teams in the best tournament at the best time of year.
Hmm.
But I think the committee also looks at, sure, if I was coaching a team and we had the best strength of schedule, that's great. But if we can't win any of those games, then what does that say about you?
Yeah.
So I think the committee also looks at that. Like, you can have the best strength of schedule, but if you can't win those games, then you don't get prioritized as much as. Oh, sorry there. You don't get prioritized as much as other teams in the committee. Because Gonzaga, how many really quality wins do they have out of their quad one and two opportunities?
Yeah. Like if we so Gonzaga right now
I think it's
is
0-0 or one.
Gonzaga's 1-5 in quad one
Yeah,
and 2-1 in quad two. So in the first two quadrants
yeah.
against the good teams,
You're a
Gonzaga
three and
is three and
seven,
six.
3-6, 3-6. You're 3-6 against quad one and two teams.
Yeah.
So if you can't beat the best, then this is why the committee should be like, well, if you can't beat the best, why should we put you in the best tournament?
Yeah. And St. Mary's is 6-4.
Yeah. Yep. That's why St. Mary's should get a higher priority than Gonzaga. So it'll it'll be interesting to see what Gonzaga does. If they don't win the automatic qualifier, they're not getting in this tournament,
Yeah.
even with a good strength of schedule. Because if you can't win, the bottom line is you're going to be left out. It looks good on metrics, and you're favored more than a team who doesn't. But there's something that goes in conjunction with that, I believe.
Yeah. All right. Guess which team has, let's see, in the top, guess which team in the top 50 of the net
Hmm.
has the most quad one and two losses combined. I say top 50, but really this team is ranked in the top 25 in the net.
I want to say it's got to be Creighton. It's
It's
got to be
close, close.
Creighton.
Creighton's 9-7, so they have seven losses.
Who are you thinking of?
Michigan State. Michigan State is 5-9 in quad
Mm,
one and two.
okay. Yeah, 5 and
Oh no,
9
okay, then Wisconsin. Wisconsin
is
10 and
10
8.
and 8.
Wisconsin's
Yep,
8.
10 and 8, and then
That's a lot. I mean, like 18 games in the first two quadrants is
yeah,
a
that's
pretty hefty schedule.
and again, I think that's when you go back to the strength of schedule thing. There's a difference between Gonzaga at 3-7 and Michigan State at 10 and 8. I even think if Michigan State was something like 7 and 11, they would be rewarded more because it's the size, the
Yeah.
sample size is greater for them. But Creighton was my guess, but Michigan State, because Creighton's been struggling too, but Michigan State's slowly starting to pull it together. That win against Illinois yesterday was good.
Kentucky's 5-6. It's
Hmm.
I don't know, like if you're not
Yeah.
500
Hmm.
in the first two quadrants, that's tough.
You're panicking. You're panicking now.
Yeah.
Because what's Duke's quad 1 and 2 record?
Oh, our quad two's bad.
Five and
Duke's
four.
five and
Five and
four.
four. So,
I mean, they've got some opportunities kind of coming up that in games
yep.
that I think they're going to win.
Sure.
I think they've got Virginia at home.
Hmm.
Um, they've got Wake at home.
Hmm.
And then I think they go to NC State, which is usually tough, but that
Yep.
will be a quad one game because it'll be at NC State.
Hmm.
Um, and then the Virginia and the Wake Forest will both be quad one. So Duke's got at least four more quad one games coming up.
Yeah.
Um,
I've
so
I've
quad
got a
two may
trivia
be kind of iffy, but
I've got a trivia question for you.
all right.
In the net, who has the most quad 4 victories?
Almost quad four
It is
victories.
not a team it was a team in the top 25 for a little bit during the year. There's your hint. But they are not anymore.
Uh, I'm gonna say the first team that came to my mind. I think it's wrong, but I'm gonna say FAU.
Good guess, but it's James Madison.
Oh, okay. That Yep.
They are 15-0 in quad four games.
Where they
I
have
think
the other
there's
stuff.
58 maybe or 62. The fact that you've played, so they have played 24 games, and they have played 15 of those quad four.
Now they are 2-1 in the first two quadrants, right? So they had one chance in quad one, and they did it.
Yeah.
That's not. That's one of
I,
those ones too. That they should. Let's see.
I don't think they're a bubble team. If they don't win the conference tournament, that they're going to the NIT.
Yeah, I don't think so. But so App State is the next Sun Belt team at 18-5,
Hmm.
and then Louisiana all the way down 126. So it looks like pretty much like unless there's a big upset,
Yeah.
James Madison it's either James Madison or App State.
Yeah.
These other teams look like they suck.
Sure.
So they should, but that's one of those teams, right? That maybe they're not a bubble team, but they win the tournament. Like, would
Right.
you? I don't know. If I see James Madison and I'm picking teams, I maybe give them. I maybe give them a chance at an upset.
I don't even know anymore. I not
I think there's gonna be a lot of. There's
upset.
just so many upsets this year that I. This could be a year. Although you said it right, like you're always surprised when you're like, "Oh, this team's gonna lose this." So like, I'm gonna say this could be a year where no number one seed makes the final four, but now watch it's gonna be
Yeah.
four one number one seeds.
Yeah, it's either going to be that everything goes out the window, or that it's all going to end up where it's. But that's not going to happen. We all know that.
Because I could see like so right now in the net, the top four are Houston, Purdue, Arizona, UConn.
Yes.
Um, I could see Arizona for sure losing.
Yep.
I could see Houston losing, even though
Yeah.
I think they're good, but I could see them losing. Purdue, obviously, we could see losing, even though they also could win the whole thing.
Hmm.
I think you're right. I do think that UConn, UConn's 13-2 the
Yeah.
first two quadrants. I did watch them play against Butler the other day,
Now,
and
yeah.
I think UConn's the real deal. I think that um, they're
So,
physical enough. Their coach is enough of
yeah.
an a-hole. Um, that
Here's what I have to say: is if Lunardi's bracket stands true, which we all know his brackets are 99% accurate, save for reshuffling of teams. If we go by who would win games, they would have to beat Michigan State, South Carolina, Kentucky, and North Carolina just to get to the Final Four, which is a loaded bracket. But again,
yeah.
there are going to be upsets, and that's not going to happen. But still, that would be a loaded bracket to match up before the Final Four, even. But I think if anybody, UConn can definitely go back there. Now, there hasn't been a repeat champion since Florida, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I I trust UConn more than I trust Purdue.
Yes. Absolutely. But it's just the fact of that thought lingering in the back of your mind that there hasn't been a repeat champion in 16 years. Like everybody thought Kansas was going to do it last year, and then Arkansas beat them, which I did pick, and everybody thought I was crazy. But I had the last laugh. But who knows? Michigan State could upset UConn if they match up.
So speaking of Kansas,
Hmm.
Kansas, right? They squeaked by Baylor,
Yep.
which good win. It was at home, but still a good win.
Yep.
Um, I
Texas Tech tomorrow.
if you so Kansas okay, so on Monday they lost to Kansas State and they beat Baylor. They
Hmm.
were four. Um, so probably worst case scenario, Kansas is like a 6 or 7, in this week's top 25. They might even still be like
Mm-hmm.
a 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Um, I I would be very tempted to pick Kansas losing early on in the tournament.
You mean depending on who they match up with?
Yeah, which is weird because like I was convinced. I thought beginning of the season best two teams, Kansas and Kentucky,
Mm-hmm.
and now
Yeah. I feel that this is a year where it's eh, anybody's year, and I really mean it. I mean, we could see a 4 seed win it,
yeah.
and I don't think anybody would be surprised because of the top. So much of the top 25 has been reshuffled each week. It's really only the top three that stay intact. But the past, I'd say, what 6 or 7 weeks, there's been a ton of reshuffling from 4 to 25. And again, now the thing you have to watch out for to transition a little bit is talking about who they lose to is bid stealers.
Yeah.
Because there's always one or two. And does one of them, who we're not talking about right now, pull off an upset against someone like Kansas or something?
Looking at bracketology,
Mm-hmm.
who would you pick as the most likely number one seed to go down in the second game? So Purdue would have to play either St. Mary's or TCU.
Yep.
UConn would have to play Michigan State or Boise State.
Yep.
Houston would have to play Utah or Northwestern.
Mm-hmm.
And Arizona would have to play Virginia or New Mexico.
It's Arizona. I'm picking Arizona because if they have to match up against Virginia, that
Virginia's
is,
been playing Virginia basketball
yeah,
lately.
that is
Like,
going
who
to
was that
be
team? They held some team to like
Miami.
35 points.
That
Yeah.
was Miami. I mean, Arizona is really going to struggle against Virginia if they play them. And then even if they play New Mexico, that's in Salt Lake City, Utah. That's the next state over. That place is going
Yeah.
to be packed with Lobos fans. And I mean, again, Arizona's close too, but if they play either New Mexico or Virginia, that's going to be really tough for them, and I could see them going down. And then they've got a date with either Creighton or Baylor waiting for them if they win. I mean, they're going down before the Elite Eight if that's the case. They would be my number one to go down.
I'm I'd be I agree.
Tempted to take UConn
I'd
down.
be tempted to pick St. Mary's over Purdue.
Yeah, I thought you
Or
were gonna.
I mean
I thought you were
last
saying
year, I don't
Michigan
know.
State.
Was Merrimack the team last year that won
Yes.
the tournament but
Yes.
didn't get to play?
Yep.
So and then so Merrimack didn't get to play,
Yep.
and who ended up
FD.
taking their spot?
FDU.
So FTU is the one that beat Purdue.
Yeah.
So now this year, Lenardi has it predicted that it could be Merrimack Purdue.
Yeah.
They could lose 2 years in a row to a 16 seed from the same conference.
Imagine. Oh my goodness.
Would you
That would be
have to? Um, God, what's Purdue's coach?
Matt Painter.
Matt, yeah. Would you have to like consider firing Matt Painter if he loses 2 years in a row to a 16 seed?
That is really embarrassing.
Because also you lose Zach Edey after this year, right? And
Yeah.
while like I'm sure Purdue's going to reload, they'll be great. They're always got a good team.
Yeah.
You don't have uh, uh
Yeah.
no Matt or no Zach Edey's walking through the door. That guy's
No.
just so different.
Yeah. Um.
I mean, I wouldn't fire him, but like I'd be like, coach, like
Come
this can't
on.
happen
Yeah.
again.
You'd be like, this can't happen again. It's this is the Purdue. This is the Purdue that we really can't pick past the second weekend because they're just I don't know. They're not built for it, I guess. That's the reputation now. Nobody's going to pick them far this year because they have a great regular season like always, and then they get matched up against someone who could take them out of their funk.
Yep.
You're telling me like if Purdue played a Virginia, that game would be the final score of that game would be 33 to probably 30. And I'm sure Virginia would win because nobody's used to it. So it's I don't know. It depends, I guess, on who they match up against, to say the least.
I'm trying to see if there's any other interesting matchups that he has predicted right now. Um, maybe Grand Canyon, Creighton,
Yeah, they're an interesting team. I also think
Kentucky,
um,
Indiana State. Eee.
that could be an interesting one too. Um,
And I usually pick Vermont.
yes, I think the Clemson Florida game could be really good. That's your classic 7-10 game. I think that could be good. Um,
Yeah.
BYU Ole
And
Miss.
I don't know if do you think Clemson or Florida can get by Kansas?
I think Florida could. I think both of them could. Honestly,
You know who's good is the guy um uh the other I call him a big man, but I wonder he doesn't actually look like he's that big. But the other big guy on Clemson.
Hall.
Like, no. It's like another like goofy white guy.
Hmm.
Um he gets like he's always pulling down rebounds. Um Shefflin, Ian Shefflin.
Oh.
I want to see what his stats are.
Honestly, if I so again, if I did have to bet on a 15 seed,
This guy's averaging almost a double double 10,
really,
9.8 points, 9.5 rebounds.
wow, that's amazing.
He's solid against UNC. He went 14-11.
Hmm.
He didn't play nearly. I thought he played way better against Duke. He had 13-9 against Virginia. 13-6, but like he's feisty. He's kind of like he's like a less skilled. He can't score unless he gets the ball and puts it back in the hoop. Um,
Hmm.
but he's like a less skilled Tyler Hansborough kind of like he's just
Okay.
super tough around the basket.
Yeah.
Like he's like a
Sure.
better Ryan Young. Like
Okay.
he knows how to get into like the right position, but he's way more
Hmm.
athletic than Ryan Young.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. I was gonna say if I did have to bet on a 15 seed, I am either looking at the Quinnipiac Marquette matchup
Hmm.
or the Tennessee, even though they're built to be a Final Four team. We've said that the last couple of years. The
You hate to
Tennessee
see it.
Troy,
You hate to see Tennessee get knocked out.
no, you would love to see it. Who are you kidding?
um, and Tennessee though Tennessee's been great this season, right?
Yeah.
But they run through who's the guy that they have? He's got a kind of weird name that's been dropping all his points.
Ziegler or
Dalton.
Dalton Connect.
Yeah. So he's a transfer
Yeah.
from like a small school, like a
Yeah.
D2 or JUCO or like
And I think it was a small D1,
okay.
like North
Um,
Dakota maybe.
and so it's like is that guy gonna show up every time?
Mm.
He's been really really good this season, right? Like I think there was one point he had four straight like 30-point games or something.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I don't know, right? Like
Yeah.
is that your I don't know what one team a year you got like the star white guy that just doesn't
Mm.
pull through.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll have to. Yeah, that's all interesting. I can't wait for our podcasts come conference tournament time and pre and during March Madness time. That's going to be our prime. That's going to be our prime right there. Prime podcast time.
Yep.
We will not miss a beat there. This is all leading up. This is just the warm up. We can start missing weeks now.
We may even have to do a live one. May
A
have to
live.
if
No, no, no.
there's a 16 over if we get 16 over one as well as like another
Yeah,
good
like a
game, we have to go
15
live that
too.
night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the day after Selection Sunday, we're going to do a podcast where we fill out our brackets
Yep. Yeah, live on air.
live on air. Exactly.
We might
Oh,
even have to
this,
go like live. We might have to do a YouTube live in case people want to like watch it live as we're doing it.
watch us watch the games live and talk about it.
Yeah.
That would be good.
Um,
Then they could
yeah.
see me like rip up my bracket and rip my hair out.
that I don't know. UConn. I'm looking at UConn's brackets, trying to see.
It's tough.
I think they just make it out of that bracket. I mean, I guess the catch is going to be right. How good really is South Carolina?
Yeah.
Because I kind of like what Iowa State's doing, but I don't think Iowa State can beat UConn.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Kentucky can beat UConn. I don't think Illinois can.
The
I kind of
North.
like I like UConn UNC to come out of that bracket.
What? No A&M. Wow, that's selfish.
I told you I begrudgingly really high on North Carolina this year. Although I like I tell
Betrayal.
you what though, if
Betrayal.
North Carolina A&M played, I like
That'd be a good
Henry
game.
Coleman banging down low with Baycott.
You know he comes off the bench now.
Does he?
Yeah. We remember Levesque at UMass last year. He's been starting all year, and then we have Solomon Washington starting now.
Okay.
So we go three guards, and then Henry and Anderson Garcia come off the bench, which is really good.
Because I do think a physical team
Yes.
would give UNC some trouble because the
Yes.
ACC just isn't that physical, which is what messes
Hmm.
Duke up.
Yeah.
Um, and UNC I think is physical,
Hmm.
but they're like ACC physical.
Yeah.
And Baycott, I just remember watching, and now my favorite player to talk about. Oh, what's his last name there? DJ, the dude from NC State.
Burns.
Yeah, yeah. When NC State played UNC, I mean, he was tossing Baycott around.
Yeah.
And I think Baycott probably if Baycott can't um if Baycott can't get a bunch of rebounds and body people down low,
Hmm. Yeah. It's over.
yeah,
It's over. So the to end our podcast, the bottom line is that North Carolina sucks, and that the ACC does not run through Armando Baycott, contrary to what he said.
very true, very true. Now I do think that UNC will probably defeat Syracuse at Syracuse.
Probably.
Um,
They're
but
another interesting team to keep an eye on, though. They could be making a push for the bubble.
let's see, that's at I is that at Virginia? Ooh, UNC at Virginia next Saturday.
Hmm.
Or no, two weeks away.
That could be a
That's
good
going to be
one.
an interesting one.
That could be.
Yeah.
That could be a good one. Absolutely.
All right, so let's finish it off. Let's take one more minute and
Hmm.
do
Games of
um
the week.
yeah, real quick. Yeah, give me take a minute to look through, tell you what your top game of the week is.
Top
Yeah,
game. All right. Let's see.
yeah.
What do you
I'll be
got?
watching Duke Wake Forest tomorrow, but that hopefully won't be all that close.
I was just gonna say you're probably hoping for that not to be too close. Are we doing the weekday or the weekend?
The week and then the weekend.
So my top
So Monday
game
through
of
Friday
the
and then Saturday and Sunday.
week is going to
I
be
tell you what.
South Carolina Auburn.
Okay, is that Wednesday?
That's Wednesday night. That's going to be my top game of the week. My top game of
Yeah.
the weekend. Let me look through. No, you guys should crush Florida State. No, that could be good. Let's see. My top game of the weekend. Yeah, I'm going to show some love to the Big East. My top game of the weekend is going to be Marquette at UConn in Connecticut. That'll be a good one, I think.
Okay.
That will be a good one, unless there's something on Sunday that's better. No. So that's my top game of
Uh,
the weekend.
it's usually just Purdue. It's always Purdue on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. What about
Um,
you?
my top weekend one, because I was just looking at it, is it's still in Texas though. I'm gonna say my top weekend game. That Marquette UConn one is good. Um, I'll go. I'm tempted, but okay, I'll pick one. I'm gonna go Kansas Oklahoma.
Okay.
To see if how good Kansas really is, because I don't think Oklahoma is that good, but it's on the road.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, and
Okay.
and if Kansas can't win that, then I don't trust Kansas in the tournament.
Hmm. All right, that's fair. That's fair.
And then I'll tell you a game during the week that I'm not gonna watch because I don't think I have the capability of that. Probably not. Oh no, I think I could watch it. Probably won't watch it though. But I think it's one of the most important games of the week. Tuesday night, Colorado State and San Diego State.
Yep.
I think whoever wins that, I think the winner of that game, if they don't
Hmm.
struggle the rest of the season,
Hmm.
is a decently high. Not I don't want to call them bubble team, but like when you're a mid
Yep.
major,
Yeah.
if you're not the automatic seed, then you're kind of a bubble team. Um,
Hmm.
I you know I just think the winner of that game is going to really say a lot about them kind of going forward.
Okay. Yeah, those Mountain West games are so late.
And that's in San Diego. So if Colorado State goes into San
Okay.
Diego,
Hmm.
wins,
Yep.
it's 20-5, 8-4 in the conference with a star player
Hmm.
that who
Yeah.
I believe was um let's see. I thought he was higher than that. I just remember just her last by Isaiah Stevens. So like I think if you have
Hmm.
a legitimate
Yeah.
player and your team is
Hmm.
playing well,
Yep.
um, so if I'd say if Colorado State wins that, then I'm gonna jump on that bandwagon a little bit.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair.
Mark me that if Colorado State beats San Diego State on Tuesday, then I will pick Colorado State
Uh huh.
in whatever first round matchup they have in the NCAA tournament.
So even if they face up against Duke.
No, I was just gonna say anyway but Duke.
All right. I'll
All
hold you
right,
true to that.
all right, that was a good one. Um,
Yeah.
all right, so thank you, viewers, and yeah, we'll be back uh, most likely next weekend. Definitely at
Hopefully.
some point in the next week and a half or so because I got school break
Yeah.
coming up, so we can kind of
That's
just work
right.
on Adam's schedule, and whenever he's
That's
free, I'll
right.
make some time for me to be free.
Mm. All right. We're coming back, viewers. Don't worry. We're not gonna disappear on a
Yeah,
hiatus.
too much good basketball happening right now to disappear.
That's yeah. We're too caught up.
Yep.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right. Until next time.